Hey there, and welcome to Get Career Curious, the podcast that gives you the inside scoop on careers, what it takes to get there, and what the job is really like. This week, we're talking to a very special guest, Carrie Taylor. Carrie is the VP of Operations for Spokane's professional league, the Spokane Varsity and the Spokane Zephyr. She's also a trailblazer for women leaders in sport, with a career spanning coaching, club leadership, and player development. And here's a fun fact. Carrie was my college roommate back in the day, when neither of us really had a clue what we wanted to be when we grew up. So if you're tuning in and still figuring out your own direction, you're in the right place. Let's dive into Carrie's incredible journey. Hi, Carrie. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's rewind to college when we first met, and you were playing club soccer, and then you worked to create a varsity team at University of Michigan. So what first sparked your love of soccer, and when did you realize it could be more than a hobby?
Yeah, I get chills thinking about it, and that's the cool thing. I think a lot of young people today don't realize varsity sports for women had to start somewhere. And, it was 1994 when Michigan finally got a varsity soccer team. And as you had referenced, myself and my teammates had been playing club prior to that, and we were super organized. We had to fundraise all of our own stuff. We had to hire a coach. We had to do travel schedules. And it was kind of through that where, all the hard work that goes into something that you love just kind of clicked for me. I am very honored to say that I got to play in the first ever varsity team at Michigan. You're a volleyball player at Michigan, and you know how much work it goes into being a student and also being a student athlete. The 90s were a big time of growth for women's sports in general.
Yeah. You were not only playing and being a student, but you were organizing everything. That was pretty remarkable. So you started college studying biology and planning to go to med school.
Yep.
So where in that path did you decide to break off of that path of going to med school to pursue your passion with soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where I first got the idea of, hey, I want to be a doctor, but I I went to college, studied biology, and I think sometimes you go in with one thought and you're wanting to please your parents, you're wanting to dive into a career that might make you a lot of money and things like that. And through the process of, you mentioned, organizing and being involved in soccer, I also started coaching when I was 15. So I kind of had that player coach type mentality. And it was my senior year, and I think you and I were roommates then. And I remember getting through campus and going, I really don't want to go to med school. And I had taken the MCAT, I had studied my butt off, taken the MCAT, probably would have needed to take it again because I didn't do all that great. But I was literally outside the athletic department by Yost Ice Arena going, you know what? I think I want to do soccer. And it just made sense to me. And I knew I could be successful at it. And I knew it was going to be a lot of hard work and probably not a lot of prestige and not a lot of money. But I'm still in the business today. It's evolved. It's allowed me to travel. Looking back, there have been some really hard times, but it's been amazing. And I love my work.
Well, that's awesome. And that's really what you want out of life, is just to be passionate about your work. Making that change, taking that pivot really takes a lot of courage. I know a lot of listeners making a big choice like that, there's some fear of disappointing your parents or making some catastrophic bad choice that you can't come back from. So how did that work out for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my mom. My mom always would take us to breakfast when she would come to town. My mom was super supportive, and, she still is to this day, of just, hey, do your passion and whatever happens is going to happen. My dad, very supportive of me playing soccer. And then when I had to tell him, hey, Dad, by the way, I'm going to go be a soccer coach, that discussion was much harder. And I will say today, he's very, 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 very proud of me. But in the moment, it was, are you sure? Like, you're giving up a lot. How are you going to make money? Is that a real job? Those sort of pressures. But in the end, your parents just want you to be, better off than maybe they were growing up. So there's that kind of fear of, oh my gosh, my daughter's stepping into this career and it's still kind of evolving. And again, women's soccer was still evolving in those times. And, it's still a very heavily male dominated career. And that's another, challenge to overcome, even on the women's side. And I've coached in both, and I've worked, in leadership roles in both men's and women's soccer. It's still very male dominated. So I think my dad was a little more fearful of me entering into a heavily dominated male space more than he didn't want me to be a soccer coach, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally does, especially given the era. Looking back, was there a time that affirmed your decision to go into soccer? What moment really sealed the deal that you made the right choice?
Yeah, I think it came in waves. My first college head coaching job might have made me go, yes, this is great. This is a random story that just happened to me the other day. I was traveling with the Spokane Velocity, which is our men's pro team here in Spokane. And we were in Omaha, Nebraska, and I walk into a Starbucks coffee shop and I hear, Carrie? And I turn around and it's one of my former players from 1999 at Xavier. And
Oh, wow.
I hadn't seen her since 1999, and she remembered me. She gave me a big hug. I got to meet her husband. I got to meet her daughter. And it was just one of those moments where you're like, wow, here's someone I coached when they were in college and now they're a mom. It's those connections from the coaching piece where it really makes you go, hey, I feel like I had an impact, and you never know what those impacts are. And you just have that immediate reconnection when you see someone that you've, won with, lost with, cried with, sweated with, been mad at, coached up, all those things. So I think it always evolves, and people are the most important. I mean, a lot of times people have jobs where they don't truly get to impact. And for me, you never know when you actually have an impact on someone, and you really do. And even if they never get to tell you, you really do. And through sport, sport is a connector of people. It's a connector of people from all over the world in soccer. Soccer is a very multicultural, international sport. So I've loved it.
And you've held roles from high school coach to college coach to, club executive. And now you're VP of operations and in the professional league, which is a huge span of different levels of soccer. Which stage of your career taught you the most about leadership and resilience?
Oof. That would be hard to pinpoint. I've coached young kids who were 10 years old, high school, college, professional, international. I think you make a lot of mistakes along the way. And I think you evolve as a leader, you evolve as a coach. And the older you get, the more you realize it's not necessarily about the X's and O's. It's about motivating people to show up every day and just do their best and hold a standard and let people know that you care about them. I'm not perfect. I had conflict in my role. I have to tell people no a lot, or, hey, we want to spend X number of dollars on this. And I have to say, no, you have to do this. So in my current role, I have to tell people bad news a lot. I feel like all my life has kind of led up to this role where I know what a coach is thinking because I've been a coach. I know what equipment managers go through because in my life, sometimes during COVID, we didn't have an equipment manager, and I was assistant coach, equipment manager, team admin all at the same time. So I think surrounding yourself with other good leaders and learning from them and taking the good and the bad and adapting it to your own personality, because that's the other thing. to the young people out there, don't go out there and try to be somebody you're not and emulate some person that you admire. Like, you have to take the good and the bad and create your own identity and personality and just be you.
Yeah, so true. So as a VP of operations, what do you do? Like, besides tell people
no.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. So VP of soccer operations, I do a lot of different things. For instance, with the players, I write up their contracts. So our sporting director does the negotiations, but I do all the league paperwork. I submit registration to the league, handle player apartments, organize. We have a team chef, so we kind of organize how that flows with things. So stadium schedules, training schedules. I work with our team administrators. So our equipment people, our team administrators, and our head of medical all report to me. And our head of community service, which sounds like it doesn't fit with what I do, she also reports to me. So I have to manage people. I have to keep track of budgets. I have to do a lot of paperwork. I get to pop into practice, here and there. On match days, I manage everything from like the play on the field into the locker room. So, when the visiting team comes, we have to have people greet the referees, greet the visiting team, make sure that they're out of the locker room at the right time. So my staff coordinates all that, and I kind of oversee all of those things on match day.
Yeah.
I plan preseason. I help organize what we order for equipment with our equipment managers. Every day,
It's a wide breadth.
every day is a new day. There's a lot of like non-glamorous things that go on within professional sports organizations, but it's fun because every day is different. I'm a problem solver too. Like, stuff pops up, and I'm a problem solver. So we just try to put the best team out there. And part of my role is to make sure the coaches don't worry about anything, the players don't worry about anything, and the coaches can coach, the players can play. All
And you take care of everything.
Yeah, like
the rest.
Yeah, like I submit what their bonuses are for payroll, and if there's issues between payroll and the players, I help with that. So there's a lot of different random things and a lot of things that like the fans don't realize go into a game.
Yeah.
It's fun though. I enjoy it. And it's all of like the funny thing is, Marie, you know me, it's all the things that I was doing for the Michigan club team or helping with for the club team,
Right.
budgets, who's driving to the field because we got to get our whole team to Ohio State, because then at that time we didn't have buses to travel on. We took our own cars, and how are we paying for it? And, all those things. So,
wow. Full circle moment. It came back. All those skills.
Yeah, for sure.
So what part of your job gives you the most energy? Like, what do you most enjoy?
That's a good question. I think game day is fun because that's the finished product. Those of us behind the curtain know everything that it took to get to match day. When flights are delayed or it rains and the stadium people can't repaint the field lines, and you're juggling all these things. But game day is awesome. For instance, later on today, our men's team, we're hosting our first ever home playoff match. So our Velocity team, they're playing to get to the semifinals of USL League One. So this whole week has been energy, energy, energy. And then we finally get to play the game. And I don't have to be in the coaching role with all the pressure. I can just be there, watch the game, make sure that everything's flowing well. And then when we win, because I want to speak it into existence, when we win, then I get to see the players happy, the coaches happy, the owners happy, the fans happy, and know that like I played a piece of like organizing that for everyone to be the city and everyone to be excited about.
Yeah, that's super rewarding. Yeah. Looking at your career, young women need role models, and you're such a role model in soccer. So if someone was dreaming of a career in sports, so what advice do you have to young women with some realistic first steps to get into a career in sports?
People say this all the time about women wanting to pursue careers in sport, is that when they read a job description, women have the tendency to look at it and go, okay, yeah, I can do that, but I don't have experience in this and this, but I can do this. And sometimes they won't apply for a job because they feel that they're not qualified for everything. Whereas on the men's side, like I'll give you an example. We're hiring an assistant pro coach for our men's team. We have a vacancy. The number of applications from high school coaches coming in, high school coach, like no disrespect, but we have male high school coaches that think that they're qualified enough to come be a pro assistant. No college experience. They just want to jump straight to it.
Yeah.
You would almost never see a female high school coach apply for a pro assistant job because they think that they just don't tick the boxes. So my advice is clubs want to hire good people. And if you tick some of the boxes and you're high character and high quality human, go for it because you never know. So that's my first thing is if there's a job out there, just put your resume in there. And if you get told no, no big deal. You apply again, you apply again. The second thing is you have to network. You absolutely positively have to network. So I'm at the point in my career where a lot of people ask me, hey, Carrie, can you give me a recommendation? And if I believe in that person and if I've known them, if I know about them a bit and I know their work and, maybe I've never worked with them, but I've met them at a convention. We've talked, on the phone or virtually. I'll give a good person that has a good work ethic. I'll give them a recommendation, no problem. And you can't be afraid to ask someone, hey, can I list you as a reference? And that helps because people check up. People, when you're going in and you're, maybe you're in the top 5 getting interviewed, they'll check your references and they'll be like, hey, what about so-and-so? And that's a big deal of having to put yourself out there, network with older people. I mentioned I just got back from a road trip with the men. We went to Naples, we went to Portland, Maine, and we went to Omaha. Portland, Maine, there's a young man who was my virtual intern in 2024 when I worked at the USL League office. He did a great job. He's asked me twice for a reference. He got the first job, but he had to turn it down because he also got the second job. And I got to meet him in person in Portland, Maine. Like, this young man's great. He's working for one of our rival clubs. I got to finally meet him. He was my virtual intern for 3 months. And the first 2 jobs he applied for, he got. And that's not me, but he did a good job. He put himself out there and he had a good list of references and he got hired. So you have to go for it. That's a long way of saying, like, don't be afraid to go for it.
Yeah, so true. And when you're looking at interns or candidates, what are the skills or experiences that you think gives young people a competitive edge?
It's a great question. For me, I don't care what college you graduated from, honestly. I don't care how many titles you've had. If you can demonstrate that you're a hard worker and you're willing to learn, that willingness to learn is big because those of us in our age bracket, we had to grind. Right. Work ethics are different from the different generations, and no disrespect, but some young people out there, you don't know everything. So put yourself out there, but be humble and be respectful and willing to learn because even though, like, I laugh because I am not the greatest at technology, all these things. But guess what? No one's gonna outwork me. No one was ever gonna outwork me. I got stuff done. I figured stuff out. I didn't think I knew it all. I tried to solve problems. So those are the types of skills that no matter what year you're in, hard work can beat talent a lot. Those are the things. So that willingness to ask questions, be humble, and If you went to Stanford, you have a 4.0, that's great. Good job, hard worker, all the things. But if you don't want to listen or take directions or get your hands dirty, then I don't want to hire you. Maybe somebody does, but I want people that are going to like roll up their sleeves and be like, what needs to be done? So,
Right. Well, and that feeds into sports in general. You just have to hustle and work hard and do the stuff not always enjoyable.
Yeah.
So what's one aspect of professional soccer that people might find surprising or really just misunderstand about working with professionals?
Whoa, that's a great question. Let's say a young person's wanting to be a professional athlete. The margin for good to great is so small, and there's a very small amount of people that do what it takes to be great. Early mornings, doing extra, eating right, sleeping right, those things. So if there's somebody that wants to be a professional athlete out there, I mean, you know how hard it was at Michigan, and Michigan produces a lot of pro athletes in a lot of sports. And it was your job when you were at Michigan being an athlete because that level is there. And then the step into the pro realm, good to great is like this big, but not many people are willing to do that little extra. From the, coaching side, front office side, all of that, it's not as glamorous as it comes across on the outside. So many people want to work in professional sports. Hey, I want to work in pro sports. Do you want to put in 12 to 14-hour days on game day? Do you want to hang signs? Do you want to, we moved our pro Division I pro female players with our front office staff. There were 14 of us schlepping couches, tables, chairs, and that. We don't have a huge budget to like pay movers and do all that. So like, guess what? To ask my coworkers, I need you to show up at noon. Guess what? We worked 8 hours moving our players. We don't talk about that. You don't see that.
Right.
But trust me, we're not the only club that does that. So it can look glamorous. It's flashy. Hey, I work in pro sports. It's hard work. It's hard work. And some people don't cut it. Some people are like, "Ooh, I don't want to work over 8 hours." Well, next weekend, our team has a women's game at noon, and hopefully, when we win today, we'll have another home playoff game at 6 p.m. We're about to hopefully do a doubleheader all day next Sunday. Guess what? It is going to be a 12 to 14-hour day. That's the part that people sometimes don't get. Hard work.
I'm sure starting out, the pay is pretty low compared to a traditional job. Is that accurate or no?
I mean, it can be early in my career. If you're coaching, a lot of times for clubs, you're a 1099. You don't have health insurance. You don't have benefits. You're a stipend worker. And as you progress, and if you continue, and I can only speak about soccer, if you continue up in soccer, you can make quote unquote good money, but that doesn't happen overnight. A lot of organizations aren't salaried positions, they're hourly. Again, it's not as glamorous as it seems, but I personally wouldn't trade it for the world. I've enjoyed the grind. I started in Michigan. I've lived in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, California, Canada, California, Florida, and now Washington. So I've gotten to, see the U.S. I've gotten to travel the world through soccer. In June, I was in England. I also work with the Jamaican women's national team, sometimes as an assistant, so I'm in and out with them. I was in England in June, and I got to coach in front of 30,000 people. Jamaica played the English women's national team before the women went to the European Championships, which they won. I got to coach in Leicester City Stadium in front of 30,000 people in June. It was pretty cool, I've gotten to go to Africa through soccer. I've gotten to go to Sweden and Germany and England, and hopefully the list continues on. So there are hard parts and there are amazing parts. For me, that's who I am. I love my life right now. There are times where I didn't live my life, but I got through it.
Right.
It's been great. It's been great.
Yeah, you've had a great career.
Thanks.
So, last question to wrap things up. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is unsure about making this leap into an untraditional career?
If it's something you truly want to do, don't worry about the naysayers and go for it. Something for me that's worked out is I've always tried to be good at a lot of things, and that served me well. Like, for instance, during COVID, I went and got my real estate license, and I did real estate for a little while. And guess what? Now I'm using my real estate background to negotiate contracts for apartments or for deals. So, like, always be open to learn everything, so that if someone's like, hey, I need this done, you can go, okay, yeah, I know how to do that, or I can figure it out. So, traditional versus non-traditional, life is short and you need to be happy also in what you do. Mm-hmm. So if you have a passion for something, go ahead and try it. You can work at a place for a year, 2 years. And if you don't like it, there's no shame in going, this isn't for me. Let me try something different. I think in our parents' ages, they got one job and that's what they did. My dad was a construction worker. That's what he did. He did that his whole life till he retired. And nowadays, we're a lot more flexible. People try things. Okay, maybe that's not for me. But again, life is too short to be unhappy in what you do for a living. And there are so many different jobs. Like, social media that wasn't a job, like that wasn't a job when we were at Michigan. And now it's like one of the most important jobs. And I don't know how to TikTok or whatever, but things consistently evolve. In soccer now, a virtual analyst is a big job where they do all the data. They don't even have to live in the city for the club that they're working for. So things have evolved and there's so many different jobs out there. So being open to try new things and have lots of skill sets is a great thing. So broaden your focus of, oh, hey, I want to be in sport. I'm good at social media. I know some PR, or I can coach, or I can organize. Try to have a broad skill set, because that will do you well in kind of finding out where your best strengths are.
Totally agree. Super advice. Thank you so much for being on. I so appreciate it. And I can't wait to watch your career progress even farther.
Thank you so much for having me on as well. It's so good to see you. And it's just amazing. So thanks for doing this for all of the young people out there that might be lost in their careers or not knowing which way to go. So this is very important work that you're doing. So I'm glad you're doing this podcast.
Wow, what an incredible conversation with Carrie Taylor. I hope her story reminds you that sometimes the untraditional path is the one that leads you exactly where you're meant to be. If you loved this episode, hit that like button. It really helps me out. Subscribe to the Get Career Curious channel and share this episode with a friend who's figuring out their next step. And if you're ready for more real-world career advice and inspiration, join our community at getcareercurious.com. Until next time, stay curious, dream big, and keep exploring what's possible. I'll see you next time.